Syntech. Welcome to another episode of Meet the Grower. Tonight's episode, guys, super stoked. Welcome to the Grow Tent. You guys been asking for him, and here he is. GT, welcome to the show, man. Kick us off.
Woo! Hey, man, glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I've had a bunch of people requesting you come on. Would love to hear more about you, about the style of your grow, who you are as a grower, who the man behind the Grow Tent actually is.
Awesome.
So that being said, let's dig in. But actually first, real quick off the top, guys, if you like what we're doing here, I got a Patreon, GT's got a Patreon. Head on over there, throw us a little love. We could definitely use the support because Lord knows YouTube ain't giving it to us.
Yeah, they just demonetized my channel the other day, so.
Oh, man. And we're going to talk about that because, horrible.
Yeah.
Before we dig in, GT, tell me about your life story. How did you get to the point where you're, running this YouTube channel, almost 30,000 subs, and, just helping people out on a daily basis?
Well, if anybody that has watched any of my videos, I suffer from ADHD really bad, and I have really bad anxiety. So if you've watched any of my videos, you hear me like talking to myself, trying to keep myself on track. So because I get off on tangents real easy. I'm sure it will happen in this video tonight because that's just my personality. So all the medications I tried, they were putting me on Xanax or whatever the pills were. They made me feel like a zombie, and I hated it. Like you take a Xanax, and I felt like my head was about 10 foot above my body all day, and it lasts like 11 hours, and I just didn't like it. There was never really a combination of anything that I took that, it would kind of temper it down, but it never really fixed it. And I didn't like being chained to having the pills with me and stuff all the time. So the thing that I always found that worked best for it is if I just smoked a little. And what I really liked about it is the different strains. You can get such a different effect from the different flowers, and you could kind of find your way through and see what worked best for you. And it worked so well for me that, I don't take any of the medications anymore. Yeah. I don't take any, I take 0 pills anymore. And I used to take like 3 a day, and now I take 0. And it's all from something that I grow myself. I know exactly what's happened to the plant from the day I started it to the day I clipped it down and 100%. Hung it. Everything there's nothing hidden in it.
Yep.
I did everything. So that's what I like the most about it. And I spend a lot of my day, every single day, trying to help out brand new people because I just figure if it worked that well for me, I want to show people how to do this. And the people, whenever they message me, they're so stressed out and upset. And, I want to try and bring them back down and show them that this isn't something you have to be stressed out about. This is something that's supposed to be relaxing. I have a saying, you'll hear me yell it in the videos. I'll tell myself to calm down and focus and relax. That isn't just like something that I say for the videos. I literally tell myself that, a bunch of times throughout the day whenever I'm trying to do something. I tell myself that. So it came across in the videos, not on purpose. I didn't just stick it in there. It was literally just me in the videos talking to myself. And I like to say you should be Zen AF whenever you're in the garden.
Oh, totally. I mean, that's the best place to be too, man. I mean, it's my happy place, and I enjoy being out there. It's nice fresh air from the plants. You got all that green. It's wonderful, man. And like you say, it's not a place to be stressed out.
Yeah, exactly. Whenever I'm in there, the feeling that I get, I never thought. I'm a guy that likes to build and race cars, and I'm a very competitive guy. I never thought gardening would be something that was in my wheelhouse. But I tell you what, whenever I leave the grow room, it's almost like its own antidepressant coming out of that tent. And that's the kind of feeling you're supposed to have when you're working with this stuff. You're not supposed to be all stressed out like, oh, am I supposed to clip this here? I'm worried about bugs. Did I feed too much? Did I not feed enough? Where's my light supposed to be? Relax. You're supposed to be calm.
Yeah. If you let the plants do their thing, they'll talk to you. You just got to learn how to listen, man.
I tell people that all the time. I said, you're not psychic. Wait till the plant asks for something, then give it to it. Now, whenever you get way better at this, you can get a little bit of psychic. You know, you get just a little touch of it. Wait till the plant asks for it, then give it to it. You're a new person. You have no idea. Don't try and be psychic. You're going to kill your stuff.
Oh, totally, totally. Such great advice. Let's talk about your grow style. Your grow style is a little different, man. I mean, that's one of the things I totally dig about it. And the thing I dig about growing in general is everybody can find their way, their path that works for them. So for my viewers, those who aren't interested, who are not, everybody should be interested. This is awesome stuff. Who are not familiar, let us know. You know, break down the feed, water feed, and transplanting and all that cool stuff that you do.
Yeah, you know, it's a more relaxed, hands-off kind of approach whenever it comes to this. You know, I have a lot of sayings whenever it comes to this. You're in cruise control, leave it alone, all that kind of stuff. It's a way more hands-off approach. I've designed my channel for that person or the people that are brand new to this, and there's so much information, and you can find 100 different channels, and you can find 100 different bits of information. And whenever I started out, what was aggravating to me was I would watch these channels and it would just kind of gloss over the part that I was interested in, and it didn't dive into the part I wanted. It would just kind of be like, this is what I did, and these were the results. I was like, no. You skipped the whole middle section. That's the section I'm here to learn about.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to start a channel where I don't glaze over anything. What I would think would be boring stuff, I'm going to just get in there and do. You're going to see me just transplant the plants a bunch of times. You're going to see me actually you're going to see me go through all the steps, actually watering the plants. You know, people water these plants wrong a lot. And what I tell people is, as soon as you get the watering down, everything else is easy. Once you stop over watering these plants, there's nothing. The other stuff, it's nothing. It's literally, there's nothing to it.
And the plants explode too.
Oh my goodness. As soon as you stop drowning the roots, you know, these plants are mirrors. So whatever happens underneath, that's what happens on the top. And if you're overwatering these plants, and the roots have pretty much two parts to them. They have the shaft, is like the main stalk of it, and then they have the fuzzy root hairs. Well, when you're watering these plants, those root hairs are the first things that drown and die. Well, those root hairs eventually grow out into, that's where you're more stalks. If you drown the root hairs, the bottom of the plant doesn't branch out. Well, if the bottom of the plant doesn't branch out, you get a palm tree with a little top and nothing below it. So if you're drowning the bottom, the top also will not branch out and follow it.
So automated watering systems, your thoughts?
You know, I've never used it just because I don't like doing anything on a schedule, because I like to wait until the plant asks for something. So whenever you're a new grower, these are all steps I think you need to learn before you move on to something else. You know, I like to tell people, grow in soil, because you grow in pre-amended soil, and if you transplant all the time, it pretty much takes the nutrient schedule, which people are so confused about, and just sits it on a shelf, and you don't even think about it. Because if you transplant all the time, what you got to think about is every time you transplant, you're putting that plant into new pre-amended soil, which has food in it for a couple weeks.
Imagine that.
Yeah, it's like magic. Well, I mean, I end up, my entire grows, I don't know, you say you've seen the videos, but they come out pretty good usually. And I only feed my plants maybe 2 to 3 times their entire life. I just let them eat what is in the soil, and I don't do anything else. And what I like to tell my people is, if there's 3 main things you have to worry about with a new plant, it's light, it's water, and it's their food. Well, if I take the food off the table, I've just eliminated 33% of the stuff you have to think about. And now we're down to 2, and the less stuff you got to do is the less stuff you can mess up. So usually people like to hear that, and they're like, oh, it's less I got to do. I like this method.
So you use the organic soil, the Fox Farms. What's your transplant schedule like? You go 3 weeks, 4 weeks, new pot. What do you like to do? How do you like to do it?
It's going to vary depending on what room I'm going to flower in. If I am going to flower in a 2x4, my veg time and transplant schedule is going to differ versus if I'm going to flower in a 5x5. and the number of plants I have is also going to come into effect. I got this question about how long do I, veg my plants so often. I made a video about it, but my transplant schedule pretty much goes their first 3 to 4 weeks, they're in a root riot cube and then in their dome, because I don't grow autoflowers. I'm a photo period guy. The next step is they go to solo cups. They go to 1 gallon, 3 gallon, and then depending on how many plants I have, we end up in a 5 or a 7, which would also depend on which tent I'm in. And like if I'm in a 2x4, I'm not putting 5s and 7 gallons in a 2x4 tent. Just not going to do it.
Yeah.
But it's, there's a couple of variables that come into play there. It's how many times a transplant depends on what my flowering tent's going to be. So.
Oh, totally, and that makes sense. And then, of course, the additional feeding that you'd have to do is you hit that 5 or 7 gallon, that final stage, and a couple of feeds throughout the flowering cycle, and that's it.
Yeah, generally, I like to transplant their last time, the first day they go into flower, because I like to scrog my plants down. So their last transplant is going to be day 1 of flower. I'll put them in the bigger bucket, and then I'm going to scrog, and I'm going to install the scrog net. Well, that last bucket generally has about 3-ish weeks, a little bit on the plus side of 3 weeks of feed left in it whenever you transplant them into that final bucket with some ocean forest or something. And then once that happens, I generally don't have to feed them till around week 4 of flower, and I cut off feedings by week 6 of flower. So it only leaves me like a 2 to 3 week window where I'm actually giving them any kind of nutrients at all. I'm literally just letting the plant be like it was outside. If somebody was, if it was growing outside in the wild, nobody's coming around with stuff and putting it in the ground for it. It's just living off what it has in the soil. And I like to give them a big enough pot to where there'll be enough food in there for the stretch.
The heavy feeders, are you doing anything in anticipation of those? What do you do if you run into a heavy feeder that's taking things up faster?
It depends. If I run into what I call the problem children, where I don't care if it's a slow grower or a one that's being too different from the rest. I have a saying on the channel where this is Sparta, and I don't like anything that is going to cause me more work. So if I have something that is going to cause me more work, I kick it off the side of the mountain. Generally, I don't like doing that with overachievers, but pretty much the way I set my gardens up, like if I'm trying to get 6 plants, I'll plant 20 seeds, and I will only take the best of the best, the rock stars, the overachievers, and those are the ones I'll move forward with. And then the other ones, give to a friend or whatever. Just do something else with them. I don't want them. So my friends are all really happy with that.
Have you thought about wearing some sort of a robe in the garden? I mean, you just seem to have achieved this state of saintlyhood with the plants, man. The Zen approach is so cool.
Dude, it's my favorite kind. It's whenever you've had a life that has been antagonized with anxiety and stress, whenever you're able to find something that kind of dissipates that, you really appreciate it and you run towards it. So that's just kind of what I'm trying to share with all the the new people, because as I've said before, they whenever they message me, I put my email up in all my videos. Well, if you putting your email on the internet, you're gonna get a lot of emails back. I average somewhere between 1,000 and 1,200 emails every single day.
Wow.
And I try to burn through as many of them as I can every single day, just because people have so many questions. And I do try. I usually average. I can get through about 300 to 400 of them a day. I set out a chunk of 2 to 3 hours every single day. It may be in the morning some days, maybe in the evening. Like after we get off here, I think I'm going to stream for a few hours, playing some Call of Duty or something. And whenever I'm doing that, anytime I'm dead or whatever in a menu, the chats are open, and I'll sit there and I talk grow questions with my chat while I'm playing video games. But I try and chunk out a bunch of time all day to answer as many questions as I had, because that was another problem I had. I was like, I would post questions on other people's YouTubes and I never got an answer. I would send people emails. I never got an answer. I would join some of these people's Patreons and I never got an answer. I'm like, I'm paying $25 a month. I can't even get an email back.
Yeah, show a little love.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm going to do everything the exact opposite. I'm going to answer as many questions as I can on YouTube. I'm going to answer as many emails as I can every single day. And any of my Patreon members, it pings straight to my phone, just like I'm getting a text message. So the Patreon members, they generally, because I do have an actual job that I have to go to. My Patreon members, they get such precedence over everything. All those questions get answered. They get, they take top priority every single day. And I think that's one of the reasons that the Patreon grew kind of at the rate that it did. Because I mean, I have levels on there as low as $1 a month, and those guys get their questions answered just as fast as anybody paying, $15 a month, $20.
That's awesome.
Everybody, there's no precedence that, you get more treatment with everybody's questions when they come in there. I answer them as fast as I can. I do probably 20 to 30 video consults a month, or a week. I'm sorry, not a month, but a week. And it's a job all in itself, because some of my levels, they have built-in video consults every single month, and everybody uses them. We'll put it that way. So I get probably 20 to 30 consults that I do per week, then the emails, and then I try and find room for, I put room for the family and the real job, and then video games in there also.
Well, the important things, of course.
Yeah.
What kind of questions do you tend to shy away from, won't answer? Personally, myself, it's bug questions and stuff, identifying bugs and stuff. I'll still try to help people, point them in the right way, but what's difficult for you to answer?
I don't know if I have any difficult ones, just because I like to simplify everything down so much.
Okay.
The main things I like to stay away from is brands. Which one of these two lights is better? Which one of this is better than, which nutrient of this is better than this? And my favorite saying is, it all works. They all work just fine. The guy that taught me how to grow, he comes off a little coarse, but the guy that taught me how to grow, his name is the Grow Boss, and he comes off a little coarse with people. But if you ever talk to him on the phone, he's an extremely nice guy. And that was the guy that, years ago taught me how to do this. And everything that he taught me, I was like, I can take and I can simplify that down even more. And that's kind of what I did with my channel. I just saw a niche out there that wasn't being addressed. I was like, I can make this extremely simple to where anyone and everyone can understand it. They're going to do 50% of the work and 99% less stress while they're doing it. And any equipment that you have, I can show you how to use it. I don't care. One of my favorite things to do is to grow out gardens with just blue T5 lights. It's literally one of my favorite things to do, because everybody's like, oh, you can't flower with them. And I'm like, I don't know. I got 2 pounds in this 5x5 that'll tell you different. With a whole sea of baseball bat sized colas. And it's not like it's a one-time thing. I can repeatedly do it every single time I flower it out. I don't ever put orange bulbs in it, red bulbs. I don't do any of it. All the plant cares about is it's getting the certain amount of X wattage being pulled through there, and it comes out fantastic.
Dial in your environment and just watch things take off.
Yeah.
That's got to be the important thing too. Your environment, what do you do to keep that in check then?
I grow inside a house, so it makes it pretty, my environment is pretty controlled because I'm in a house. One of the hardest ways to do this is, if you're not growing outside, is if you're growing in like a shed that's outside. I tell people that's, whenever I was like, you're going to have problems. I was like, it's going to be hard to maintain your environment in that. I grow in a house in my basement. It's heated in the winter and cooled in the summer, and it has humidifiers and everything built right into it. So it's super easy to control everything. But I don't pay too much attention to it, to be honestly. Unless I'm having some kind of extremes where it's super low or it's super high and I got a bunch of moisture on the wall. If I don't have mold or mildew or anything growing, there's videos of me taking hammers to hygrometers, and I'm like, this is how much you need to pay attention to this thing whenever you're starting out, if you're growing inside a house. I go, it's not important. What's going to be more important is how you control what you're doing in there. Because the problem, it's not whatever you're trying to use, it's you are the problem with it. It's not your light, It's just you got it too close, or you got it turned up too high too fast. It's not the nutrients you're using, it's the amount that you're using of them. It's always on the gardener.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
Cause and effect. I just did a
Yeah.
video on this on the weekend talking about troubleshooting, being in tune with your space and understanding when something has changed.
Yeah.
What would you consider your biggest failure as a grower?
Oh man, not being able to answer enough emails in the day. I would probably say, people get a little upset with me because I'm pretty short in my emails. I don't put any fluff in it, and I'm pretty to the point. I'm like, you're overwatering this plant, back it off, wait, stop doing that.
Yeah,
I'm pretty short just because I have so many to try to get through, and I want to try
totally.
to get to everybody. I can't sit out there and type dissertations to everybody about what needs to be done. I'm like, if you want more, my Patreon's you can join it for $1 a month, and we can answer, those questions always get first precedent over, and they'll get longer explanations. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I was whenever I was sitting there thinking about this question, and I didn't come up with a ton, but I just wish I had I wish I had a license to manufacture, but that's really hard to come by and really expensive where I'm at.
Right, right. Well, GT, from everything that you've been saying so far, you just strike me as the type of person who doesn't really focus on the failures anyway. Something went wrong. Okay, pick up the learnings, move on, and just keep her
Yeah,
cool, man.
I'm pretty big on not dwelling on stuff that I don't like. I'm a pretty optimistic person, very glass half full type guy, and that's just what I don't like to dwell on anything that went wrong. I'd like to learn from it and then move on.
Great way to be in the garden. Now, I'd like you to tell me about your favorite grow tool in the grow room and why it's your favorite.
Well, I've mentioned it already, but it's my T5 lights, just because
Yeah.
people say I'm not supposed to be growing with those, or at least I'm not supposed to be flowering with them. And I like to be like, well, why does my garden look like this? I don't have any, there's no secret. It's just I have a 16 bulb quantum, in there, and it's a great brand. I know I say I don't like to talk about brands, but as far as T5s go, I'm not sponsored. That place is out of business. They're not sponsoring anybody these days, but it's a great light, and it works really well, because the quantum brand, because I've ran a bunch of T5s, they pull about 100 more watts from the wall than any other T5 on the market. They have better ballast in them that lets them pull more watts from the wall, and they pull like 965 watts from the wall for a 16 bulb, which most of them only pull 850 to 880.
Okay.
So
Okay.
they pull more watts from the wall. But I would say it's a T5 light and a scrog net. I'm really big into scrogging my plants down. It works really well for support and spreading the plants out. Those are my two favorite things. I don't really like how you can't move it around anymore, but now that I got a tent that opens, my Patreons for Christmas this year, I used to constantly complain because I had a 5x5 tent that only had one opening on the front.
Okay. Okay.
And that's a lot of that's 25 square
That
foot.
is tough.
And
To
I only
handle,
had
man.
the front, and it didn't even open all the way. It just did like a half moon zipper thing. So you only had this front section to work with. So to get to the plants in the back for lollipopping and stuff, I would have to lay down on my back, slide under the canopy,
Throw it in there.
and clean all these plants. And it used to be a really big pain in the butt being the scrog net. But my Patreon sent me a gorilla tent, and it opens, 180 degrees, and I can
Nice.
get to all the plants around all the sides now. So now, I mean, it's a breeze. I got a great Patreon community.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm going to take a minute here to plug Canopyclips, though. Some guys I work with just north of me, they're training clips. I don't know if you've ever seen the plant training clips that will take and bend the plant over sort of 90 degrees and hold it there in place.
Yeah.
Really, really, really cool stuff. I like them especially for early flower, just because it allows me to really open up the plants and whatnot, and then start scrogging because spread it out.
Yeah.
What would you consider your best grow? I mean, not necessarily dwelling on the negative, but I mean the positive. When did it really all come together?
I would say my best grow that probably went the most viral, because most of my grows all turn out pretty much the same. It's pretty repetitive. It's an easily repeatable process. If you ever watch my grows, there's not a lot of difference in them whenever I've got them scrolled out and everything. They all come out pretty close to identical, but I would say probably my most viral one is I grew some. Is it okay to mention? Because my channel will get smoked if I mention strains and stuff on it.
This stuff is all over 18. I keep my channel pretty locked down to be able to
Okay, because
talk
I know
about
on my
stuff. Yeah.
channel, if I mention like a company where I got it from or the strain, they'll hit the video. They will strike the video, they'll shadow ban it. And so if it's okay, I'll mention it.
By
But
all means, man.
all right.
Yeah.
I was growing an Ethos Genetics. Once again,
Okay.
I wasn't sponsored at the time, but after the grow I had, they've come on board with the channel. It's gonna be a really
You see what
awesome.
you did.
Yeah, well, the strain that I grew was called Early Lemonberry, and the plants were just like these beautiful rainbow colored. Whenever they went to flower, there was purples and greens and yellows and reds and pinks and orange. It was insane. And there was a bunch of people like, oh, that's photoshopped. And then I took a video of it. I'm like, this is pretty great Photoshop, I guess. And then I did a video of the
Live
plant.
action.
And I was like, I hate to tell you, I'm not that good at that stuff. It's like I do, I used to do all my editing on a phone, but now I actually have Patrons actually sent me a camera because they were tired of me doing it on my phone.
Nice.
Once again, giant thumbs up for my Patreon community. Since YouTube demonetized my channel, it's been fantastic that those guys have, that I have such a strong supporting Patreon community.
Let's talk about demonetizing. Let's talk about YouTube in general. It's a platform that we're both living on. The platform that doesn't really want us there, although they do like to still stick those advertisements up.
Yeah, they like to put the advertisements on there. We just don't get paid for them. I was watching a thing because my channel gets around 200,000 views every single month. And I was watching a thing. It said the channel should be making around, like $3,000 every single month. Well, I don't make any of it. YouTube still makes it. I don't get it. I had like 75 people had hit the join button to subscribe to the channel. And just one day, all of a sudden they're like, we've demonetized your channel. You don't have any strikes or anything that we've given you recently. We just decided to demonetize your channel for dangerous content. So it between all the different people, it's like $600 a month that they just chopped right off the channel. And if anybody watches the channel, they know with all the money, anything that comes in from Patreon or donations while I'm playing Twitch, I give it all back away in giveaways to the channel. Like I've got one coming up on 420 next week. I'm giving away $1,000 in cash, which is 10 people are going to get, just random people from the live chat. You don't have to do anything, just be hanging out we're going to do an all day live stream on 420. 10 people are going to win $100, PayPal, Venmo, Cash App. I don't care, whatever. And then we're giving out, I got like 30 or 40 grow books. I got tent slabs. I've got garden trackers. I got so much stuff I'm giving out. It's going to be a really cool day. And, it's just
showing the love.
Yeah, there's definitely no love, but anything that comes in, if I don't use it for equipment to make more content for the show, I just take it, I bundle it all up, and then I do giveaways with it. I did a giveaway where I hid secret numbers that I green screened into all the videos, and I had hid them in the thing, and they were only up there for fractions of a second, and they were tiny, just like boop. There'd be one up here for half a second, and then
very
it would
cool.
disappear. And I hit them, and what happened was you would add those numbers up. There was 11 videos total, and you had to find these numbers in there. And whenever you totaled up the numbers from that video, it would add up to one number. And then you took that number that you gotten off the 11 videos, and it gave you a phone number. And you called that phone number and left a voicemail, and that's how you got entered into the contest. And the winner won $1,500, and he got paid instantly.
Dude, that is just awesome. That's just showing the love back. And I'm just starting to get into more of that myself with bringing a little bit of money into the channel, doing some of the giveaways and stuff.
Yeah.
Same sort of thing. Not quite the level of the 420 that you're doing, but I get up to like grassroots fabric pots. We get some LGM prize packs, all sorts of cool stuff, right? And
yeah, this community, so I've found, a lot of the YouTube community for other sections of this, of creators, it's very toxic. The environment, the comments are very toxic. This is one of the few communities where it's not toxic. It's usually very supportive. And I like to support the other channels. I've got a new contest coming up, a new secret contest. I call them my secret contest, like the ones I had the numbers in.
Yeah.
And the people are going to have to go out to other creators' channels and support their channels. And by doing that, that's going to get them entered into the contest. So they have to go out. They're going to have to go out and support, like, From the Stash podcast, or Mr. Grow It, or CLTV with Robin Trey, or Doggo the HUD, or any of those other guys. They're going to have to go out and subscribe to those. And by doing that and hitting the notifications and the follow bells and stuff on them, that's how they get entered into the new contest that we're going to be doing. So it's going to be pretty cool.
That is just awesome. And the community just gives back, and they share, and it's, the more it grows, the more we all start to come together, and it's so awesome. I couldn't imagine what it was like trying to grow 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Like,
well, I was around people that grew back then, because I didn't grow back then, but I was around people, and it was very gangster, I guess you could call it.
Well, a good way.
There was a lot of like sawed-off shotguns hiding in places, and
well, you'd have to.
Yeah, you had to. So it wasn't a great scene, but it's progressed. I mean, look how many states just these last 2 weeks have become rec legal. You got New York, New Mexico, and Virginia, a southern state.
That's the big one, man. That's
rec legal. That was the first domino in that wall that you never thought was going to fall. That was really the first one. And every time one of those states falls, the amount of traffic, you can immediately see the correlation in the amount of views, people coming in to try and learn how to do this. Because a lot of people want to do it, but there's a lot of people that want to do this that wouldn't break the law, but they were sick of the medications, like I was.
Yeah.
And this helps so many people, especially if you've got a cancer patient that can't eat, and he finds a strain that works for him, that makes him hungry, that gives him the munchies. It makes his treatment go by a lot easier when his body's actually getting some kind of nutrition in. And I couldn't be more happy to help show people how to grow these plants and how to do it really easily, to where they're actually getting decent yields to come back out of their tent. So
grow your own medicine. It's what heals.
Yeah.
Let's talk about prohibition, because you did just talk on that a little bit. Do you see federal legalization happening anytime soon in the US?
I think it's a while away still, even with this administration, which I think this administration is what pushed a lot of those states to start kind of popping off, because this administration wasn't going to go after them. I think if Kamala was in charge over Joe, because I don't think Joe is very pro.
Yeah, he seems to be fairly conservative still.
Yeah, I don't think he's very pro cannabis. I think it'd be a lot easier if Kamala, I don't know if I'm saying that right, I don't follow politics too much, but I think like with the SAFE Act or the MORE Act and stuff like that, I think those things have a chance of passing. The biggest thing is, you got a lot of dispensaries and stuff that still aren't allowed to bank, and it sucks. So it's a big cash business still.
Yeah.
And I think what's really going to be the determining factor, I think, is more and more states, as it keeps falling to recreational legal. Recreational legal is the big one.
Totally.
As more and more states keep falling to recreational legal, I think that's what finally pushes the government. I mean, even if we can just freaking reschedule it, get it off of Schedule.
That's the big one. Too, get that science happening.
Yeah, because with Schedule 1, it's not allowed to even be studied on a federal level, because it's in the same category as heroin and stuff like that. And if we could just get it rescheduled down to like freaking even two at least opens it up to science and medical. I would prefer it to go down to 3 though.
Agreed. More access, more science, just more better.
Yeah, it's crazy, because the drug part of it was never why this thing was made illegal in the first place. So
no, it's always been about the money.
Yeah.
What do you think the industry could be doing more of to help the home grower out with?
Oh, man, I find that to be another double-edged sword, because with the industry, their job is to make new products and sell new products every year. They don't really like what I have to say on my channel, because I'm like, once you buy a light, you don't need to buy anything else. Whatever you got will work. You don't need to go out and spend money. And I have a slight problem with it, because once you buy something, you don't need anything new. You know, it will all work. I'm showing that you can do this with T5 lights and like keeping your hands off, and you can do a ton of stuff. At the same time, I understand that businesses can't do that because they need to sell new lights every year, or, you know, new nutrients or whatever. So I would like to say I would like to see them push more for the simplicity of it, but at the same time, I understand why they can't, because they have bottom lines, they have employees, they have overhead that they have to cover. So I would, if people come to my channel, I like to tell them I'm going to show them a simplified way to do this where you don't need 90% of everything. At the same time, support the businesses because we don't want them to go out of business.
Well, it's finding that balance everywhere, right? You know,
Right.
finding a good light that's going to last for the period of time that you need it to last for, and buying it from a company that's going to service it and give you, you know, that good customer love if you need it.
Yeah.
So, and
Exactly.
I know you don't like to talk brands, but aside from the quantum lights, is there another brand that you feel is really doing it right for the growers?
Uh, you know, I would, I hate talking about brands. Uh, you know, I think I used to be, if you watch my early videos, I was really anti LED. I was like, look, you don't, because mainly because people were using them wrong. They were taking them, they were putting them way too close to the top of the plants. It was slowing everything down. They were turning them up too high. So it really wasn't a problem with the light. It was a problem with the grower once again. So I think, you know, I've done a bunch of grows with LEDs now and shown people how fantastic they work if they would just back it off and raise it up some. I'm like, it doesn't need to be 6 inches off the top at full power when they're a seedling. It's just,
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, I got a grow tent sitting right here, veg. My light sitting, 5 feet up, and I mean, I'm half power, right?
yeah,
And
you
that's
know,
it. That's where it stays.
yeah, exactly. You know, so I do like, you know, the LEDs. Some of the manufacturers, you know, I am sponsored by Mars Hydro, so I gotta say that they're doing
Yeah.
fantastic. But and I'm sponsored by Optic LED, so I gotta say they're doing fantastic.
Their
But
new lights, man, with those new Samsung diodes. Sorry, I'm a nerdy guy there, but no, that's the thing. It's there's a lot of companies out there, and I think it's just look at the reputation, do the reading, see who's doing good by the customers. I mean, there's lots of us now doing videos for these companies, and
yeah,
they could pay us more. It'd be great if they did,
you know,
but
they're not paying too bad, but you know, it's just
yeah,
you, I mean, they're not paying too bad, but you gotta at the same time, I don't take on a ton of sponsors because they don't
yeah.
like the way I talk about it whenever I'm on there. And you know, I've had a bunch of nutrient places come towards the channel, and I'm like, look, I'm not gonna lie to people. You know, one of my big things with nutrients is I got videos where I'm just taking shelves full of nutrients and I'm pushing them in trash cans. I'm like, you don't need any of this, and I'll dump it all in there, and I'll leave like 2 or 3 bottles up on the shelf. I'm like, you see that? You can do this with just that. And so I was like, I'm not gonna change. Or if I do promote like the Mars Hydro or the Optic LED at the end of it, I go, this was a paid advertisement to welcome to the grow tent at the end of the little clip, and then I laugh about it. But at the same time, does it all work? Yeah, absolutely. Of course it does.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I like getting the gear. I like playing with the gear. I like bowling in the gear and finding if the stuff is no good, because that's the thing too. Nobody wants to buy crap, and if
Yeah,
I can help somebody avoid buying crap, so
yeah,
what do you? Oh, go ahead.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that would probably be the one mainstay of whenever I was taking some on. If I was going to review it, if I honestly thought that it was a waste of money, I would really dedicate a video to be like, this is a waste of money. Do not spend your money on this product. That would be something I would really hammer home on.
So talking about the bad then a little bit. What are some really bad pieces of advice that you've seen given out?
Water every day, feed
Ooh,
every other feeding,
yeah, no.
turn your light up to 100% as soon as you hit flower. Your LED needs to be closer. Don't top your plant because it slows it down. Don't super crop because it slows it down. You should only be tying it down with low stress training. Um, Getting bugs is a normal part of growing and it's going to happen every time. That's incorrect. Um, let's see. I don't know. T5 lights can't flower good bud. Only LEDs can. HPS is no good. They won't make good flowers. I hate to tell you, it was making good flowers for decades.
Oh yeah, the older lights, the T5s, any of those lights, there's nothing wrong with them. They're all making great amount of lights. It's just a question of efficiency. That's the big difference, right?
Yeah, because we're definitely pulling more watts from the wall.
Yeah.
And whenever you have HPS, you're going to be fighting like heat issues and stuff like that. So the
Well,
LEDs do have their place.
Yeah. I think the only place that we're really starting to see that tide turn is in understanding spectrum more and being able to dial it in. I understand like those new optics have the ability to play with the spectrum and stuff. So that in
You can
itself
actually
is really
dial them
cool.
up back and forth.
Yeah.
They are a little bit more expensive. Actually, they're not too much more expensive than any of the Chinese brands have all really caught up in price.
Yeah.
Lately, but they also really jumped up in quality too.
Oh, big time.
There was a giant jump from a lot of those Chinese companies where they did not, they had no customer service department, and now I would say they have a great customer service department. Like if you get a tint from them and they've got a rip in it or something, a lot of times they'll just send you a new tint. They don't even want the old one back. You say, yes, take a picture of it and send it to us. I'm like, trust me, just email these places. They don't want any bad press. They want their products out and they want a good name on it. But I think a lot of the places, the customer service side has really come around, and I haven't had too many. Can't remember the last time I had a bad experience with anybody.
That's awesome. Let's talk about your grow right now then. What's going on in the grow room? What do you got going on? I mean, other than really cool sounding Star Wars like experiments.
Let's see what we got in there right now. Right now we've got Granddaddy Purple growing in the big 5x5.
Oh, love the GDP.
The classic. It's one strain that I wanted to grow for a long time, and I've got that, and I crossed it with my own strain, which is Giant Purple Monster. So I've crossed those together, and that new strain is going to be called Purple Frost Giants, and I've got that going on right now. That whole tint in there is seeded from top to bottom, side to side, front to back, and it's still got like 2-foot tall colas on there. So it's literally insane in there. There's a whole forest. It looks like of those miniature Louisville Slugger baseball bats, and it's an army of them for a full 25 square feet of it. No, there's not a centimeter of space in that tent that there's not canopy full of cola, and from top to bottom, it is full of nothing but these beautiful feminized seeds. I just did a whole series on how to make feminized seeds with, actually got some, just some colloidal silver. Nice. And I took my GPM mothers, I sprayed them with colloidal silver, got my feminized pollen, and then I was sitting there with an exhaust fan actually, and just blasting the back of the plant all over the garden while I was yelling over the top of it. It was a fun video series to make. And now I've got, it's going to be a whole room full of that. My next grow I've got going on in one of the veg tents, I got Skywalker OG in there, and I've got Master Kush in there, and we're going to be crossing those two to make our new one called Jedi Council Kush.
Love it.
And I've got some early lemonberry that is hang drying in another tent that I'm getting ready to chop up this weekend and jar it up to start the curing process. So that stuff smells just like pink lemonade, that early lemonberry. The video I did on it, the pictures that I did on it, actually caused it to sell out completely nationwide. There was not a pack you could find of it anywhere from any manufacturer. It sold out nationwide, and that's whenever they contacted me. They're like, we don't know who you are, but you just sold out an entire stock from every distributor we had. There was people calling their main base to figure out where the distributors were to try and find some of these packages. And then they just sent me a gigantic box of all Ethos genetics. They're like, you can grow anything you want, just do whatever you want with this.
We love you, man.
And they were like, you caused a nationwide shortage. They're like, we've never seen anything like it. It was crazy. I said, and they saw the pictures. They're like, we haven't, they're like, that picture is the most beautiful thing we've ever seen.
Gotta love it when it comes together like that.
Yeah.
So talking about specific cultivars, then, when you're growing out a strain, what are you looking for in a plant?
Now, are we talking about if I'm going to grow it for just myself, or am I growing it for breeding purposes? What am I looking for with like that?
Well, I touch on both.
All right. So if it's just for me, I'm a big indica guy. I like the calming, relaxing. I don't need any sativas winding me up. So I'm a more of a chill type person because as you can see, I like to talk. I'm already high strung pretty much by nature. It's one of the reasons I like gardening so much because it takes me from a here town to a here,
Yep.
and I get out of the tent and I stay in that kind of state of mind for a good 4 or 5 hours every single time I come out of it. But if it's for me, I like more indica based, just relaxing. I'm not looking for any kind of like head buzz or any kind of something that amps me up or gets me thinking. I just want something that relaxes me. That's what I'm looking for. And then as far as I'm growing, whenever I'm growing for breeding purposes, I look for stalk thickness is my main thing I'm hunting for whenever I'm pheto hunting. That is the number one on my list because if I find ones with thicker stalks that can hold bigger colas, and that is what I'm aiming for whenever I'm growing. I want overachievers, and I'm only keeping the biggest and the baddest of the group, and the rest get thrown off the mountain. So
This is Sparta. Very
yeah,
good, sir.
exactly.
I like
That's
that.
exactly right. And so
I
those are
like
pretty
that.
much my two criterias. I pretty much, just I like to smoke what I smoke. I still walk around with I got 2 dugouts in my car. That's what I carry around, just my bats, and I can, take as many hits or not as I want at a time throughout my day.
Got a system and it works.
I've had them since high school, so they work.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That one job in the grow room that you hate doing, what is it?
That I hate doing. I hate trimming. I
Yeah,
hate it.
most of us do, yeah.
Yeah, I hate trimming. Any successful gardener is going to tell you he hates trimming. Um,
Yep.
Whenever I first did it, I'm like, how could anybody hate this? I was like, this is the best part. I was like, you're trimming up your flowers. And then when you start doing it pounds at a time by hand, it gets old real quick. I actually have a machine now that does it, so it's not a big deal anymore.
Yeah,
Other than
yeah.
that, I would say it used to be also lollipopping because I used to have to crawl under the canopy and do it, but now it's not that big of a deal when all three sides of the tin open up. Probably just, I don't know. I don't like buying the new dirt and bringing it down the stairs and and everything. But other than that, there's not too many things I hate about it. I really enjoy, this whole process. I really like transplanting them. I like pulling them out of the pots and seeing what's going on underneath the soil that I haven't got to see while it was in it. I like doing all the training. I like every aspect of this. Not something I spend a lot of time doing it because I have a couple different stations and I spend a big chunk of my day talking to new people about it. I really do enjoy most aspects, almost all of them in this field.
Yep.
And I hope it comes through in the videos that I'm actually enjoying what I'm talking about. And I just really like this community, the whole. I like everything about it. So
And
as I said before,
they
I'm an
definitely,
optimistic person.
well, they definitely seem to love you back.
Yeah.
Now, normally I ask people, best piece of advice for those starting out, but I think we kind of touched on that several times. But GT, what do you think the first thing a new grower should learn as they're getting going?
Oh man, I would say stay out of the garden way more than you think you need to. They don't need you in there. It's a fucking fern sitting in your living room. You don't have to pay attention to this damn thing. If you're constantly in there messing with it and constantly, because even if you want to go in there and look at it, that's fine. Don't touch it. You don't need to touch it. The problem is the more times you go in there, the more things you think you need to be doing. And I hate to tell you, it's just a plant. It grows really freaking slow. It's watching grass grow. It's the damn plant. It doesn't need your help. It needs a little touch here and there, and they don't fucking touch it. Just leave it. Just leave it alone. It doesn't need your help right now. It doesn't need you in there. It needs you to water it and walk away, especially if you're growing like I do in soil where it just doesn't need your help. You're not moving the lights up and down. You're not turning them up and down all the time. It's a relaxed thing.
Yeah.
Leave it alone. It's my biggest thing that I tell everybody all the time. Just leave it the fuck alone.
Learn how to not helicopter parent that plant.
Yeah, exactly. Don't fucking get over it and just mother it all day long. It doesn't need that.
Oh, stellar. Last question, GT. And dude, loving chatting with you, man. Loving chatting with you. What do you feel the next big thing is for cannabis?
Oh, dude, I think it's going to be getting rid of the stigma. I think that's the next step in this.
Yeah.
As more and more states, I think there was I might be wrong on the numbers here, but I know the idea of it is correct. I think there was a national poll taken, and over 70% of Americans were okay with the legalization, if at least medical.
Yep.
And that's a great step in the right direction when you've got that much of a percent. I know it was the overwhelming majority were on board with at least medical. I don't know about the recreational, but I think once that happens, and the more and more we get, the more information we can get out there to people, and we get rid of that stigma where it's not a bad thing anymore. From the Stash podcast, actually just had a great episode on it.
Watched that myself today. Yeah,
they had a great episode, and I couldn't agree with it more than those guys. If you guys don't know, you guys check out From the Stash podcast. It is a fantastic episode of podcast with a bunch of really cool people on it. So you guys should be watching.
Oh, totally. Yeah, no, Pigeons, Rob, Chris,
they're all
on the
great.
show. Stellar guys. GT, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here, sir. I'm gonna let you get back to your multiple Patreons and your 1,000 emails, because I'm sure you got a lot of them to answer. And I totally appreciate you spending some time chatting with me and showing my viewers what a stellar guy you are. Aside from your Welcome to the Grow Tent YouTube channel, how else do we find you online, sir?
I pretty much upload on the weekends for my videos on YouTube. During the week, I hang out mainly on Instagram. It's the same name, Welcome to the Grow Tent. It's just there's a underscore in between each of the words. So it'd be like welcome _to_the_ grow tent. And I hang out there on the weekdays, and you get to see a lot of like the pictures I post that they don't ever make it to YouTube. So the kind of the stuff I'm doing through the week, candid shots of the plants that you don't ever see. I get like night shots with the flash, and I hang out a lot on the Instagram. I answer almost every single comment that I get on there. And let's see, I got there. I've got a Twitter. I'm never on Twitter though. I made it a long time ago. It's pretty toxic on Twitter. I don't like hanging out on there. I don't care what subject you're on. It's a pretty toxic environment. I didn't like hanging out on there. I'm just not good with the mean energy. I'm a positive guy. I want to be around positive people.
Hell yeah.
But we got there. I've got the Patreon, of course, and you can always just send me an email. I don't mind. If I don't answer you in a couple days, it's because it got buried by 1,000 other emails. So just send me another one.
Awesome. Well, appreciate the energy. Appreciate the love you show to the community, and appreciate you, brother.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Welcome to the Grow Tent, and let me see if I can do this on the outro, sir. Woo!
I love it.
It was close. It was close. All right. Well, man, this is Photosynthetic. Welcome to the Grow Tent. Thank you so much, guys. We out.